Time for another award-winning mailbag edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you, and we will answer your questions that come from our live shows that we do each and every week. Highly encourage you to subscribe. That way you, too, can be a part of our mailbags here at NFL Daily. Turn on notifications. That way you know when we go live here on the channel. Use the hashtag NFL Super Chat, whatever it may be. You, too, can have your questions here on the show. So without further ado, let's get started with a $5 Super Chat from Past. Past writes in, shouting out the Vikings. What do you think about Alexander Mattison as our RB1? Can he get 1,000 yards and say 10 touchdowns, or does it matter because of the pass game? Look, we know the Vikings love to pass the football with the weapons that Kirk Cousins has, led by Justin Jefferson. Obviously, they are going to go through the air a lot. That's going to be the priority of that offense. With that said, Alexander Mattison, I think, is a very good running back. I think that the big thing for me is the fact that the Vikings moved on from Dalvin Cook, signaled not just that they were not wanting to pay Dalvin, but they were confident enough in Alexander Mattison to still carry the load in the run game. To me, it was twofold in that front. I think you're going to like what you see from Alexander Mattison. I think he's going to have a fantastic year, be a 1,000-yard rusher, 10 touchdowns, all that's very possible. I think you're talking about Alexander Mattison having a chance to be a Pro Bowl running back when it's all said and done. I think you'll like what you'll see from him in that run game. The Vikings' offense is not the issue. That defense has got a lot of problems, though. GM Evan writes in, how about Baker Mayfield? How's he performing in training camp? Should they call Carson Wentz? First off, no one should have to call Carson Wentz. I am not a fan of Carson Wentz whatsoever, and I would not be picking up the phone to call Carson Wentz right now, not just because he has struggled recently as a football player, but he's also not a very good leader and not a very good locker room guy. So don't worry about calling Carson Wentz. As far as the quarterback room goes in Tampa Bay right now, Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, the reports have been that both players have been kind of turning the ball over too much, that we've seen a lot of interceptions from both quarterbacks. Granted, still very early in this portion of the months leading up to when football begins from training camp. We haven't seen a preseason game just yet. You can't replicate live game action. I like Baker Mayfield personally. I think Baker is good enough to get the job done. If I am Tampa Bay, though, if it gets to a point where they are feeling, not confident, where they feel like they need to go another direction, don't sleep on Trey Lance as a possibility for a trade there before I would ever touch Carson Wentz. F. Jerry, that's funny. Any chance the Chiefs decide to trade Chris Jones? Over a year ago, when they traded Tyreek Hill, nobody thought they were going to move on from Tyreek Hill. And then when they did, what is going to happen production-wise when you lose one of the best receivers in the National Football League? And it made Patrick Mahomes a smarter quarterback because he wasn't pushing the football down the field as much, and it was by committee. They made it work. Now Chris Jones wants to get paid. He wants to be paid like one of the top, defensive linemen in the entire National Football League. And in his position, I think only Aaron Donald is better than he is. He is that good, Chris Jones is. Now, I'll say this. You're looking at somewhere in the range of $30+ million to pay him. I think they are going to find a way to get a deal done, but Brett Veach is the best GM in the NFL right now. And Brett Veach, I would not be shocked, I'll put it this way, if he says, you know what, we can't come to a deal, we can't make it work, we're going to move on. We're going to get what we can from you and be okay with it. If I were to set the line right now, the odds, I would say there is a 70% chance he stays, a 30% chance he gets traded as far as I'm concerned. The Chiefs, they're smart folks. They know what they're doing. Remember, they didn't bring back Orlando Brown either. They will be okay one way or the other, whether Chris Jones is there or not. It wasn't until this past playoff run that he had a sack in the playoffs for the first time in his career. I don't think he gets traded, but we'll see. Do you think that Chris Jones gets traded or not? Weigh in, tell us in the comments section. T for trade, P for pass. Is Chris Jones gone or not? Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comment section below. Today's show is presented by the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. That is BetUS. And at BetUS, we got your game. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, you can get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, get $125 to spend for free with promo code NFL Daily. You can bet on this weekend's preseason football action. Maybe it's the MLB, maybe it's a little soccer, motorsports, golf, whatever it is. We got plenty of things for you to bet on. You can get rich, kids. There's money to be made. I can tell you that much. And here's what you do. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Enter the promo code NFL Daily, and you can get that 125% deposit bonus. Bet on whatever you want to bet. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily to place your bets today. Juan Hernandez says, what's your confidence level in Jimmy G? Not very high. I'll be frank with you, Juan Hernandez. I think Jimmy G is good enough to win football games in the National Football League. He's proven that. But when's he going to get hurt again, right? You can't trust him to stay healthy. And then, on top of that, can he win football games? Sure. But where the Raiders are at, it's not like they're just a quarterback away. The Raiders have so many issues. They need elite quarterback play from that position right now. So I don't feel very good at all about Jimmy G and his situation with the Raiders. And even though I'm not a fan of Derek Carr, I still take Derek Carr over Jimmy G. Where it worked out for the Raiders was they got Jimmy G much cheaper than Derek Carr, what they were paying him. And I don't think the fall off is going to be that much. Okay? You basically went from Chili's to Applebee's, and you paid a lot less for your Applebee's meal is what you got out of Jimmy G. So confidence level not too high as far as I'm concerned, but we'll see. Laura writes in, why should the 49ers trade Trey Lance, and what will they get? Why should they trade him? Well, if they're not going to play him, you might as well get what you can for him because his trade value isn't going to be better than what it is now. I think you're looking at a day 2 selection. I think you're a third or fourth round pick potentially. I know it sucks because you gave up 3 first-round picks, but I think the Niners have already moved on. Kyle Shanahan's favorite quarterback has always been his next quarterback, right? And he's already all in on Brock Purdy. He's moved on from Trey Lance at this point. I think you get what you can and you say, you know what, it didn't work out for us, and go from there. I think Trey Lance still has more upside even than Brock Purdy. But that's not where the Niners are focused at right now. They've moved on mentally. That's why I would recommend them making a trade. If they're not going to play him, you might as well get something out of it. Brad Swag writes in, Steelers record prediction. Remember, they have a good O-line now, so Pickett has time to throw, and Najee Harris has room to run in a top-5 defense. Mike Tomlin has done a really good job with this team the last few years, playing over their talent level. Although the playoff success hasn't been there, they've done a good job of still overachieving in the regular season. I think the Steelers, although they're in a very tough division with the Ravens and the Bengals there, the Browns aren't bad either. The Steelers, if everything goes right for them, they can be a 10-win football team potentially. They could go 10-7 as far as I'm concerned. I liked what we saw from Kenny Pickett in the second half of last season. The offensive line improvements will go a long way. Najee Harris is solid there. Defense is really good. They got some playmakers. Steelers can be a 10-win football team as far as I'm concerned. Will we see Kenny Pickett continue to develop and grow? That's the question. I like what I saw at the end of last year. Desperate Raider writes in, will Jonthan Taylor get traded, and what's his most likely trade destination? It isn't the Las Vegas Raiders. I can tell you that much. If they're not going to pay Josh Jacobs, they're not paying Jonthan Taylor. His most likely trade destination? Ooh, that's a very good question. I'm thinking about teams that are desperate at the running back position. The Miami Dolphins come to mind. And the Dolphins have traded off picks in the past. They've kind of taken that Rams approach of F them picks, right? The Dolphins come to mind as potentially being one of those teams. Others, the Baltimore Ravens are a possibility. The Chicago Bears. You got Khalil Herbert there in Chicago. Khalil's a good number 2 back, but he's not a true number 1. That could be a good fit. There'll be plenty of teams interested in Jonthan Taylor if the Colts decide to move on. Where will Jonthan Taylor play this upcoming season? Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comment section. Give me one team of where you think Jonthan Taylor is going to end up. Last question. This one from Junior. Junior writes in, should the Patriots trade for Patrick Queen? You know, I look at that Patriot team, and the defense is really good. They got some playmakers. They have done a really good job assembling that defense. The defense isn't the issue. Where the Patriots need to invest is their offense. They need playmakers on that offense. They need to upgrade their receivers. Nothing against Patrick Queen. I think Patrick Queen's a fine football player, but they'd be better off trying to fix up that offense as far as I'm concerned, trying to get a playmaking receiver or another running back alongside Ramondre Stevenson. That's where I would recommend the Patriots go from here.